if a network packet arrives at a machine, there may be a lot of different processes that are interested in network packets, and the operating system just needs to decide which of these processes it should go to. Imagine maybe process 1 is an HTTP server, whereas process 2 is a database server or something. They're running on the same machine or on top of the same operating system. Which one should the message go to? The addressing and forwarding mechanism for this is to use a port. So there's maybe an IP address that had I don't know what this IP address actually belongs to, but an IP address that got it to the machine. But now if it were addressed to port 80, this is our convention, a pretty agreed upon number to say that the message should arrive at the server. But the operating system is not just going to hand it over to a server. I mean, how does it even know what is an HTTP server? Which of the processes are HTTP servers? The idea behind having a pre-designated number 80 is that the sender can put 80 in the message, but when it arrives, the operating system needs a mechanism for saying, hey, this particular port is the one that is listening for messages on port 80. And to do that, we have a system call called bind. You can look at section 2 of the manual, bind. And by calling bind, that process that has a socket open to receive messages is associating that socket with a port, right? So bind is going to look something like your socket file descriptor, which I'll just write like this, but it's just an integer, right? It might be 4 or something. And well, you need an address and a port. The reason for the address in here is that you can theoretically have multiple different kind of inbound addresses that this message can arrive at, and is considered multiple IP addresses, for instance. And you may want to bind to one or another, or you can bind to this special address which just says any. All right, by calling bind here, the process is asking the operating system to say this file descriptor that I've received by calling socket and this port have an association. That association specifically is that anything that arrives on port 80 should come to me. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Well, not really. If you look at the source code for this, it's kind of complicated. You think that maybe there would just be a table that says, hey, port 80 goes to this file descriptor of this process, whereas the port 2000 or whatever goes to this file descriptor of this process. Because of the addresses, it's a little bit more complicated. It uses hash tables and so on. But basically, it's a mechanism for the operating system to say, hey, something has shown up with this number. You can think of it as kind of like an apartment address. We've got into the building based on an address, but there's a door person or a mail a handout person that says, hey, this is for apartment 14 or apartment 45 or something. The difference is that people can readily move between apartments, and all they need to do is tell the door person, hey, I'm now at apartment 13 or whatever. Anything that's addressed to apartment 13, port 13, will go to that person. So it's just a kind of delivery mechanism to have something go to the right process.